with them. On the other hand, it was early for me to find out that there are Chinese boys who won't want to play with me. There are also those who won't play without me. So at a very early age, I realized it was not the race, it was actually whether a person is good or bad. So that's the reason why it is very important for us to have early socialization. At a very early age, our children must play together. They must run in the, used to run in the longkang together and all those things. Yeah, I think it is very important for us to create a situation whereby Malaysian kids from all races have a chance to play, laugh, cry, do naughty things together, maybe go and steal some rambutan, these are the things we used to do. But that is important. I think that's the missing element right now. Our kids are separated at a very early age. And earlier, Datuk also pointed something very interesting. He says, during the early days, when you go to bersunat, when you have a circumcision, the entire kampung will come. But today, we go to the clinic, and it was a very quiet affair, just a couple of family members. So we have lost that ability to come together as community, come together and celebrate. And these are the things that we have to look into. How do we bring back that chance, more chances for us to mix, play, laugh, cry together at an early age?
Let me ask you this. If we don't have these opportunities for this early socialization, as Anas is talking about, is this going to get in the way of achieving true national unity, true solidarity?
You will notice as it goes along, but you see the youth used to be invited to play certain role when we would be holding functions. So if we, let's say, had a kanduri, a feast, a wedding feast, you would need the youth, the young people, to come and help build tables. If it's a kampung like mine, we would build tables made out of pinang trunk, long tables, and benches with bamboos also, and tree trunks as supporting, and we make a planta out of this bamboo, and everybody would be given a job. And if you are not given a job, if you are 7, 8, 9 years old and you are standing there not being told what to do, you felt left out. You felt as if, don't they need me? Have they got something against my parents? It went to that.
This sense of feeling part of the community is where I see it sort of a breakdown right now. We don't have a sense of inclusivity. We kind of feel shut out. And I think whereby it might be okay for us on a simple level of being nice to our Chinese neighbor next door, or the Indian family who lives upstairs in the condominium, or the Malay family across the street. Somehow when it comes to the group thing, is there a difference between the values you embrace as an individual and then when you are part of a group?
Well, when you are in the group itself, there is somehow or other a unifying thread. Somehow or other, you tend to get together. But will that feeling persist if you are alone, separated from the others? The main thing here is we must try to develop a heart-to-heart understanding, an appreciation of each other's feelings and cultures or racial differences. Not only tolerate them, but try to appreciate and understand. These are some things which we'll have to try and practice while in the course of living together.
We become Malaysians only when we get together.
And eat.
Yeah.
And makan.
And we have this since way back when. We say, sudah makan? I mean, only people in this country say that. Has anybody said that to you?
Yes, of
yeah,
course,
many times. Sudah makan is a strange question for people from outside this country.
Yeah.
They are beginning to learn the national language, and somebody meet them in the street and say, sudah makan? Sudah semalam. You know, so it's a funny question, but
Yes.
it make the two people closer.
That's a unifying
Yeah,
factor.
closer because
But we
makan,
can't have a situation where that's our only unifying factor.
Of
You know, I
course.
mean, you know, there has to, if we're going to progress as a nation, take our place on the world stage, we can't be that
Yes,
country that only comes together at
When
the
you're eating.
kanduri.
When you are
Yeah, when you're
eating.
eating.
Oh, this is a government's
although the-
paradise.
Although the question sudah makan actually come from the culture of the Hokkien Chinese
Yes.
called Chap Pao Boy.
Yeah.
Have you eaten? And
Also
that-
Indian
yeah,
culture too.
Yes.
The reason being is because at one time in history of the Hokkien, they were so poor that if you get to eat one meal a day, you're actually in a good state. So that's how it evolved into Chap Pao, but have you eaten? So if somebody asks Sudah Makan, actually in that context is that, you know, how's your life? How
Yes.
are you?
How are you? How are things going?
How's
Yes.
things going?
Yeah.
Now, I take it from you, say, is this enough for us? The worry is this. I would say that if we want to look into things, we, at a young age now, our children, they are, at school, they're not together. Our housing is not together too. We have, now we're all moving apart again, where the Malays tend to stay in one kampong and the Malays have their own, the Chinese again. And what happened is, at a very young age, our housing, what you call situation, our schooling situation, are not encouraging our young people to come together and spend time together. And that is why I think the worry of the future. And we only come together during makan time, like Hari Raya and Christmas and all that. That's not enough, actually. Definitely not enough.
What would you like us to be beyond this, collective gourmet sort of society? What would you like to see?
In fact, there must be a certain degree of political will that has to step in to get this become a possibility. It's very important. You see, for instance, take the home, the welfare home that the Pure Life Society is running. In days up to the 70s, we were the only NGO running a home. It was after that many homes cropped up. But at that time, we had Malay children, we had Chinese children, we had Indian children. Though the number of Indian children were more, and the Chinese were about 30%, our Malay children were about 10%. They all lived together. And now when I walk the roads and go into the city, go into some of the offices, and I come across some of my old children, Malays, Chinese, and Indians, come forth to me saying, how are you, mother? You a sister, no? Sister, I still call you sister. I know you're mother now. And they come and kiss me, and it happens. But then, today it is different. There are so many homes which have cropped up like mushrooms overnight.
And they are
And
ethnically
they are
based.
all, yes.
Yes.
But we still keep our doors open. And we have still, but very few Chinese. Because on the same road, we have got an institution which is purely Chinese. So this is a thing. So we will have to try, in fact, encourage homes of this nature to be multicultural, multi-religious, and multiracial.
Okay, we're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in just a little while. This is the Merdeka Award Roundtable that you're watching on Astro AWANI. Welcome back, everyone, to the Merdeka Award Roundtable. This is a forum in which we grapple with big ideas, concepts that require honest, sober reflection. It's very easy to find fault and point fingers, and that is, of course, what makes for riveting blogs and tweets. But we don't always remember that we have no small measure of success as well. So now we tackle the bigger picture. In what ways are we an example to emulate. One of the things I'd like to start up with, and Mother will pick up from you, is language. Because you had all of these children of different ethnic backgrounds in one home, did they pick up each other's languages?
They did. They did speak each other's languages, and I must say they've become multilingual.
And yet there is such a controversy in this country over what should be the main language, what should we teach certain subjects in, are we denigrating the main language if we allow students to be taught in their mother tongues? I mean, surely the fact that we are not monolingual is at the very least an economic advantage. I mean, we can speak Chinese, we can speak Indian, we can trade with the biggest economies in the world if you can speak these languages.
I think it's important for us to know when we need to have a national language. And it is very important that at least there's one language to unite the entire country. And the language that's been uniting not just Malaysia, the entire Nusantara for the past 1,000 years, actually Bahasa Melayu. Yeah, that is given. And at the ground level, you will notice that people actually communicate using Bahasa Melayu or Bahasa Malaysia, we call it Bahasa Malaysia. Now, the issue of language in school, well, if it is Malaysia, I guess we should have what you call Bahasa Malaysia as the pillar language. But we should not neglect the English language and also Mandarin now. Yeah, and now of course there's talk about what need to be done. I think we should separate the reason why at the early stage Malaysians, a group of Malaysians which are more united together. It's not because of language. It is because of their chance to play and live and act together. Whatever language you look at, children in the playground, they may not even talk to each other, but they can play together. They may not even understand each other in language, but they understand the rules of the game. Yeah? So language should be separated here. But because personally, I believe we should have Bahasa Malaysia as the main language in schools. But we need to increase the usage of English, for example. I understand, there are people who suggest that we have science and mathematics in English. But I thought science and mathematics use more symbols. We need reading language, geography, history. Teach that in English.
Some of the greatest mathematical works were written in Arabic.
Arabic, yeah. So in other words, I would suggest that if we want to introduce more English in school, it must be a reading language, a reading subject, like geography or history. Yeah, and that is really important because, like as you said correctly, while more than 90% of Malaysians do business within Malaysia, which is you have to speak Bahasa Malaysia, yeah, but there are maybe about 5 to 10% of us who deal with the external world. We need to speak either now in English and later also in Mandarin. Yeah, so it is good to have this multilingual thing, but we need to have a language to unite us. Yeah.
Dato', I remember one of your series that I really enjoyed reading was when you went to Berlin. And the reason is that, I thought it was in Germany, I was either Berlin or Bonn. But the reason I enjoyed that is because I speak some German. And you had you peppered that whole thing with lots of German phrases. And it made reading it so much more enjoyable.
Oh, that's easy. I just copy them.
Yeah. Oh, you did. But the point is that you didn't think, oh, if I put this German phrase in here, that my readers are not going to understand it. You sort of felt that was very important to the whole story.
Well, this is the art of drawing cartoon, and you draw pictures, and you want people to follow you, and you want people to feel exactly the way you do. So if I went to a Chinese shop, to my friend's shop, Frankie, in the Town Boy book, and his mom was speaking in Chinese, I didn't understand a word. I didn't want the readers to understand too.
Correct.
But of course, it's got to be proper Chinese, and it was written by one of the friends in the office at that time. So, it's good to recognize other people's languages, dialects, and that way, they also would get an interest in knowing yours.
Yeah, so embracing languages is one of the values that we seem to sort of have among ourselves, felt that it is very important. The other one that I want to talk about, which I see as as an enormously wonderful Malaysian value is our sense of charity, Mother. I find that Malaysians are among the most charitable people on the planet, and that really, in many ways, cuts across race. You have a story in the newspaper about a child with a hole in the heart. The next day, there's enough money for an operation.
Malaysians are charitable, I agree with that. But at the same time, we have to also remember that prevention is better than cure. How long is this charity going to last? As long as a nation is affluent. But once it loses it, what's going to happen? So we will have to teach the person to fish rather to give the fish.
The point that I want to get at here, though, is that that sense of being charitable is a wonderful, priceless
It's a wonderful
feeling. And perhaps it is something like this that we should be teaching our younger people at the moment, that the charity must cut across.
Yes. You're right.
But there are instances of saying, well, you know, I'd rather help this one because he's from my community than I will that one because they're not from my community.
Well, we should be very open. In fact, the organization which I run, today there are more Indian children than Chinese children, and there are only about 1 or 2 Muslim children, that's all. But the Chinese community helps a lot. I hope it doesn't hurt the others, but it does.
But it does, it
You
must
see?
somehow contribute to interfaith understanding.
Yes, yes.
You see, the thing is, I think charity, being charitable is deeply ingrained in our religion, whether it is Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and that's the part of the country that we still have, that we are actually still, if you can use the word religious or spiritual, no matter, even among my friends, no matter how modern they are, you can see their heart is still at Buddhism, their heart is still at Islam. These are the wonderful values that we have in this country, and if there's one thing we want to share with the world, is this our ability, or rather what we have here. You see,